Everything Matters is quite a complicated song. It's a story that I don't want to say too much about, but it's a very specific story. This one, it's a very strange story as well. But the name Everything Matters came to me when I thought about that there is so much beauty in the small things, and the world is often about all the big things, and then I fear sometimes that I won't have enough time to appreciate all the little things about the people I see and in myself and in my surroundings, because everything matters, every little small beautiful thing. But it's a very strange story. I'm all about encouraging people to embrace who they are, because the sooner you learn to just love yourself in the skin and with the soul you were born with, the better chance you have at being happy in this one strange life we have. And I'm very it's very important to me that we don't spend too much time trying to justify our existence with anything, because we don't have to justify or explain ourselves every day just because we're here. We can simply exist, and sometimes that's enough. And giving into the love is a lot about not forgetting about the fire. We keep inside of us the fire that is alive and passionate and destructive if we use it in the wrong way, but it can also be incredibly warm and important, and it's life. And I think I thought about a Prometheus, who they said a long time ago made humans with clay, and then he stole the fire from the gods and made us real. And then I thought about, it's important to not be distracted by this clay, because that's the dead part of us. Our skin and our body isn't any important. It's about the soul and the fire we have within us. So yeah, giving into the love, I guess, is about giving into embracing what's alive in you and what makes you you. I wanted to speak directly to the huge problem in this world, that conversion therapy is still allowed in so many countries, even in Norway. Of course, it's not encouraged, it's not a thing, but it's not directly illegal, which is so strange in Norway, which people think is such a modern, forward-going country. And even here, conversion therapy is still allowed. And I thought about the devastating situation, being told that who you were born as is so wrong that you have to be cured from it. And then I wanted to make a song that made people feel untouchable. Like when you say, I don't need a cure for me, easy like that. Not with anger or sadness, but just with a nonchalant feeling. You prove to them that the world cannot hurt you in this way anymore, because you don't care what the world thinks. And you're here to just love and spend your heart and your love the best way you can. And it doesn't matter. And when you realize that it doesn't matter what the world thinks, then the world can't hurt you. Then you're untouchable and almost immortal. And that's very beautiful. So that's kind of the general mood I wanted people to have. Just this, I'm untouchable feeling of celebrating themselves just the way they are. You Keep Me Crawling. That's a song I wrote very last minute. I had already finished my album and even sent it to mastering, and it was completely finished. But then I wrote You Keep Me Crawling. It was originally named Bad Omens, but my record company thought it was too scary, so I had to change it to You Keep Me Crawling. But I think it's about the unbalanced power play in the world. You see it in so many different situations. You see it among people. You see it sometimes acted out between different races. racism and inequality. You see it between teachers and their students, between preachers and their audiences, and between religion, organized religion, and people of faith. And the way people use power, I think, Ikipikoni is about power. It's about many things, and this specific story, people can also interpret the way they want, but it's inspired by power, and how in the wrong hands it can be so evil. Exist for love. Oh, I really wanted that song to feel nostalgic, even though it's new. But in many ways it is nostalgic, because it's about that old kind of love that you heard more about in songs way before we both were born. Just the pure kind of love. And I was actually very inspired by old people or the elderly, because the pandemic just hit us, I remember, and we were all divided, and I heard about a lot of people dying alone, especially the elderly, who was struck the hardest by this. And I just thought how devastating it must be to leave this world alone, and to lose people you've loved your whole life, or to that the world is changing and everything is cold and the people you know can't visit you anymore. I just thought how many elderly must be lonely right now. And I wanted to make a song that felt safe and nostalgic, and that maybe could remind them of a time where was young and free and different, I guess, even though it's a new song. And that's why I started writing it. But then it's about, when we humans love in the purest way, it can be any type of love, then we understand why we're here, because we're so good at it. We're so good at loving each other. Not always ourselves, but when we actually love, we are so unstoppable, and it's such an incredible force, mind-blowing, and then we know why we're here. I think that's our meaning on this earth, is to love. Heathens is very, it's also a story about this woman, this mother. It can be interpreted in many shapes, I think, how this motherly figure or being, what she is. I know what she is to me, but I think she can be something different to any person out there. I was very inspired by, again, the outcasts of society, and especially through history, how especially women have been shamed and blamed for so much and burned on the fire, for just knowing how to read, even on the 1600s. It's strange, our history. I think I would have been burned if I lived many, many years ago. I'm happy I'm born today. I think they would have thought I was a witch. But it's like with my hands and with my singing and with everything, and spirituality and medicine. And I was thinking about like divine female power through history. But it's not necessarily like only to women, but like it is kind of power that exists in all of us, and that is often we are being told by the world to oppress this part of ourselves, men and women, and yeah, it's kind of like a mother to the outcasts of the world, and also kind of about religion, the outcasts who have been told through times that they are not worthy of heaven or redemption or salvation just because they were a little too human. The Innocent, yes. That's a very fun song. It's very wild, very free. The innocent touch is never enough for the ones who love. And I think people can interpret that the way they want. But I think we should be less ashamed about our human needs and about our bodies and about sex. I think we should be much more liberated, because it's such a beautiful and amazing thing that the world is trying to make us feel ashamed for, which is sad. But yeah, that's also a very interesting story. Exhale, Inhale, like all the other songs, is about many things. I had to go very deep into myself to find my voice in this song, the way I sing it. I wanted it to feel like I am sitting you down and I'm right next to you and I have my hand on your shoulder and I tell you, like, I have something really important to tell you and you have to listen to me. And then I start singing the song. I wanted it to feel like a warning, like you have to say something and the world has to listen before it's too late. And you can also find many meanings in that, both emotional ones and, the world. But it's in general about a fear, I can say at least, that we won't really listen to the shouts of help before it's too late. And I'm really anxious about that. Temporary Highs sounds the way it does because it's inspired by a movie called Metropolis, which was made in the 1920s, about how they thought the world would be in 100 years. And this movie actually exists, and it's so weird to think about now we are actually 100 years later, and now we're here. It's crazy, isn't it? And I wanted to make a song that reflects everything that went in my mind when I thought about this. And it's about how I feel the world actually has become. It has a high tempo, and it's hard to keep up with this world. A dangerous thing. That's inspired by a very sad thing. And it can also mean a lot of things to people out there. I hope they find their own meaning, because I think it's very important for this song that it can mean something special to every person out there. But a dangerous thing, I think sometimes it's hard for us to know what the dangerous thing is before it has already started to eat us from the inside. And sometimes what's the most dangerous can disguise itself as something good. And it's easy to fall into destructive patterns, or to run back to what is bad for us simply because it feels safe. And we shouldn't be blamed for that. I think a lot of people tend to return to things that are actually bad for them because it's a thing they know, at least it's familiar. And it's a really dangerous thing for a lot of people, this kind of strange conflict we have inside. Artemis is my favorite goddess from Greek mythology. I love the moon because the moon, I feel, is very female. I feel like the sun is very male and the moon is very female. And Artemis is the female goddess of the moon, and she is a hunter, and she is very independent and very strong and mysterious, very beautiful. And I was just inspired by her story, I guess, because she's a very intimidating woman, but yet very soft and kind, but slightly dangerous as well, which I find to be a very charming mix of abilities. So it's a song about her, Artemis, about her complexity. And I have a very interesting instrument, bandoneon, doing a solo in the middle, which is beautiful. He plays very gracefully. It's quite a rare instrument that not so many people knows how to play. So I'm very excited about having it on. Blood in the Wine. I just want people to really walk away after hearing this album. I want them to walk away with the feeling of that we shouldn't be ashamed for the things that makes us mortal and that makes us human and alive, or impure, if you want to say that. It's the blood and wine is kind of about enjoyment, and that I think there are so many things here on this earth that which their only purpose is for us to enjoy, and we should enjoy them more. This could be a dream. This song is also something I want people to figure out for themselves. But I feel like we spend a lot of time dreaming about how things could have been or could be if we only, did this or did that. And we fail to see how much of our dreams that is actually possible to turn into truth. And I feel like a lot of people are being distracted from reaching their full potential because they're constantly fighting for themselves, so they can never truly run because they're busy all the time with simply managing to just stand up again. And I feel like it translates into that we should all fight for each other more and for equality and for the well-being of humankind, because imagine what the world could do and what humans could accomplish if we took more care of each other. If we had a world of people that could actually do something with their minds and their power and their abilities and talents. But so many of those people, so many people around the world are just, all the energy goes into simply fighting for their right to exist. And that's really sad, because I think we could do so much if we started with building up each other more. We have so much work to do. But we're getting there, I think. Slowly, but we're getting there. A little place called the moon. Well, this track has both to do with the now, this album, but also the future. So it's a perfect way of ending this album. It's actually, I think it's my favorite track from the album. Because it's filled with a lot of light and spirituality. To me, A Little Place Called the Moon is the sound of the earth waking up and the mountains being touched by the sun for the first time each morning, or birds flying south for the winter, or these beautiful, majestic, slow things that happens every day. And I just imagined all of the people that tries to do something good, that tries to speak up and shout for equality or for emergency for our world and our people and our animals, our children. It seems hopeless, like we're not being heard sometimes, because still somehow the world is going round and around in its same footsteps, or people are. And I just imagined this scenario where all of us stand in line, in this endless line, and I walk and I run next to the line, and you see all kinds of people from all kinds of places, from all kinds of religions, and you wonder, like, where are they going? And you see all the way in the end, you see them entering this little spaceship that's going to take them to the moon. But also, I'm just so that's what, like, this image in my mind inspired the title, that we're all going to a better place at least one day. But also how ridiculous it is with the world dying, that they are sending rich people to space rather than ending world hunger, which they could do with their money, which is very hilarious. So it's kind of like a satire of that as well. But yeah, it's just a really spiritual song about our world and how we miscommunicate with it. But I think we should communicate with our world and like the native being inside of us much more than we are. So it's an ancient song.